Hi, I'm Hans Finzel, and today I want to talk to you about how to achieve a balanced life as a leader. I'm big on having a balanced life, and I often talk and teach about not being a workaholic, but somebody asked me the other day, well, Hans, what are some ways that you have achieved a balanced life? And, it's not easy. It's tough to fulfill responsibilities in any job. One of my sons is working for a big company, and his demands are so great, but I just appreciate the fact that he is modeling now in his life with his two children and his wife some of the stuff he saw at our house when we were raising them. So Hans, how do you achieve a balanced life? Well, these are just some things that I did. And when I was approached to be the CEO of a big organization that I was recruited to, I remember sitting in the interview room and the board was asking me, well, why do you want this job? And I said to them, well, I never said I wanted the job, but I said I'm willing. If you think I'm qualified for this big assignment to lead this global operation, that I'm willing to do it. It'd be exciting, but I just want you to know you're asking me, I'm not asking you. And I said, my greatest concern is my family. We had 4 little kids at this time when I was approached to take this job, and I said, I just will not sacrifice these children and my marriage for this job. And as long as we understand that and you help me in that journey, then I'm in. And they were in, and they did help me. And for 20 years, I had the joy of being in that position. And today, my kids are grown. Those little bitty kids are all grown up, and they're healthy, they're happy. They love hanging out with mom and dad, which is one of the big desires of all of us as parents, that when our kids grow up someday, they actually want to hang out with us and they like us as adults. And all of a sudden we're friends, and we even work together. So here's some things I did to achieve a balanced life. Number one, I took my kids with me whenever I could. Now, some of you don't travel in your work, and so maybe there's some way you can involve them in what you do professionally. I don't know. But even when they were little, I would take them on trips with me because I traveled a lot, and I just kind of rotated them around, taking them one by one. And it was a sacrifice financially for us to do that. But 2 can travel pretty cheap. When you have a little child with you, they don't cost that much more. And I remember taking my son Andrew to Africa when he was 12 years old. He's 26 now. He's a wonderful young man, but he tells me to this very day, Dad, that was one of the greatest memories of my childhood, that you took me for a month to 7 countries of Africa as you were doing ministry and doing work in those countries, as you were visiting the important stuff that you guys were doing. And it made me feel like I was important because you, my dad, took the time to take me. And I remember we shot a video on a safari there in Africa, and we let Andrew help us shoot this video. He was one of the cameramen. He's 12 years old, smart little kid, and it just, he didn't just tag along and we sent him off with babysitters, but he was very involved in that trip. So taking kids with you whenever possible, get them involved if there's some way in your career. Number 2, making the family a priority. And sometimes there is a huge conflict between work priority and family priorities. And sometimes the tension is so great and you have to make a decision. I tended to err at walking away from my job to help my kids when they were in great need. I remember my other son, Jeremy, and I've actually told this story in one of my books, and we talk about this, but he was a teenager and he was hurting. He was exhibiting teenage behavior that was negative, teenage boy. And I remember Donna and me, we just talked and he said, you know what he needs? He needs daddy time. He really needs some daddy time. And so I remember going to my assistant, Joyce. I went the next morning and said, I'm going to be gone the next 3 days. I'm going to take Jeremy on a biking outing up to Mackinac Island. I know I don't have time, but I want you to clear my calendar, push everything off. I know I have stacks of things I should be doing here, but right now Jeremy needs me. We went up to Mackinac Island, took our bicycles. At night we sat in a motel and watched videos and ordered pizza. And to this day, Jeremy says, Dad, now that I'm a father and I have a son and a daughter, I want to be the kind of father to my kids that you were to me. I will never forget that bike trip. You see, that was worth it. I don't know what would have happened those 3 days if I hadn't, it wouldn't have been any profound effect on the work if I hadn't have been there those 3 days, but there was a profound effect on my son. Number 3, family vacations. How are you doing with that? The two biggest excuses I hear why people don't take family vacations, probably pretty logical. I don't have the time and I don't have the money. We always took family vacations. We bought an old beat-up motorhome because there were 6 of us and we couldn't really stay in one motel room. So it was actually cheaper and easier and more fun to travel around America in a motorhome. So we made a commitment that we had family vacations every year, a couple of times a year, but one big family vacation every year. And that's something else our kids, we just had all of us together for a family vacation recently. Now they're adults. They have their kids, they're getting married, and we're still doing it about every 3 or 4 years, getting them all together, but they all say, Mom and Dad, we just loved the motorhome. Man, was that precious family time. Now, how did we pull that off? Because I hear this all the time. Great idea, Hans, but we don't have the time, we don't have the money. Well, you do have the time. We always have time for the priorities we make. And when our kids were growing up, it was one of the first things we put in our annual calendar in the summer. Boom, we are going to take a vacation. We don't know where, but we are going to take that time, and everybody's going to know we're going to be gone that time. And then I started years ago a family vacation savings account and putting aside money every month, just a little bit of money for that vacation. And then I got a special little debit card that was just linked to that saving account. So when it came to vacation time, we didn't have to use current money because there wasn't the current money. But if you save toward that vacation, it helps you do it. Family vacations. Number 4, this may sound profound, babysitters. We hired babysitters. We hired a lot of babysitters. We got away from our kids. One of my mentors when I was in graduate school, Howard Hendricks, always used to teach us, the best thing you can do for your children is to love their mother. And so we got away alone. We went out on dates. I believe you should, now that my kids are married, one thing I'm telling them all is you need to date after you say I do. And so we dated, we went out on dates. 2 or 3 times a year we went away on weekend getaways, and we either got friends to watch our children. We didn't really have family around, so we would hire solid people to watch the kids. And I run into people who say, well, I just don't trust people with my children. Sometimes the best thing for your kids is for them to have a break from you. Babysitters. Number 5, exercise. This is another way to achieve a balanced life. I always got involved in personal exercise. When I was younger, I played a lot of racquetball, but then I took up jogging. And my oldest son has picked up jogging lately, and because he was asking my advice on how to achieve a balanced life. And I said, what are you doing for exercise? I said, it's really an important part of our whole psyche to be balanced, to have some good physical exercise. I said, well, I don't have time, when I get home, he's got 3 children, and they attack me, and my wife needs me. And that's why I always exercised at lunchtime. I found that was I'm not a morning person. I couldn't really exercise before work. And when I got home, my wife needed me, my children needed me. So I found the time at lunch where I would exercise, and I would worry less about eating and more about running. I became part of the Run for Lunch bunch. Number 6, finally, walking away. Learning to walk away from the piles of things to do at the office. It was very clear to me in my job I would never get everything done. I would never read everything that needed to be read. And I just decided I had to walk away. This same mentor, Howard Hendricks, used to tell us this image that sticks into my mind all these years later. He said, when I drive home from the office, I cross a bridge. And when I cross that bridge, I throw all my problems over on the side of the road across the bridge. And in the morning when I go back to work, guess what? They're still there. And I pick them up and I take them with me. That has stuck in my mind all these years, and that's what I practice. What does that mean? Don't take all the troubles from work home with you and dump them on your family or dump them on your spouse. Just learn to walk away. Let me say in conclusion, nobody says at the end of their life, I wish I'd spent more time at the office. What do people say at the end of their life? They don't say, I wish I'd spent more time at the office. They said, I wish I'd spent more time with the people I love and with my family. I hope this will help you in that great quest to achieve a balanced life. Go to HansFinzel.com to check out my Leadership Answer Man podcast and other great resources for taking your leadership to the next level.